Hello, this is my first devlog. I am going to be doing several ones probably each week to keep track of the codes I make over the next year. It'll just let me know what I have done. I already have a list of all the ideas I have, which aren't all very cool or out there, but anyways, I still want to make the code. For today, I made two pieces of code, one which is Bruteforce Math and the second one which is the Christmas Countdown, both of which are in my GitHub, which I've linked in the description and is also available in my channel description. For those that don't know me, I am Payne. I just do things which are fun to do, and I'm currently a student trying to get through life or whatever. I hope you like the video. So, first one, which is going to be the highlight, is brute force math, which can be explained in a simple drawing. So let's say you have an equation like x over 5 is equal to 2.6, right? And so the purpose of the code is to go one by one, trying every number until it reaches the answer. So here, for example, we start with 1, which when replaced with x, it'll give us 1 over 5 is equal to 0.2, right? So then it gets closer to the answer over here. Then it raises it by 1 again, so 2. So 2 over 5 is equal to 0.4. Then it'll do that again and again and again till it reaches 13. At 13, it'll be 13 over 5 is equal to 2.6. Of course, we have to also be able to go into like decimals, right? Which going into decimals was a bit harder than I expected. Not only that, also going into negative numbers was a bit hard. But I'll be able to explain it later with my own code. So first off, I gotta say that I started the code with some pretty basic function called it Bruteforce Math, and also I've already done this code before. I did it like 5 days ago or something, and now I'm here redoing the whole code because it wasn't working very well. So I started with that basic function. It took me around 9 minutes to get somewhat close to the possible function. But then I left and stopped working on the code for a bit, and the most important part is a bit later. Section. Yeah, so we just gotta say. Now, here comes the interesting part, which is where I actually get into really coding the program. So I decided to take ones and decimals separately. Ones as an integer or a number, and decimals as a string, as to be able to add as many numbers to the end of it. I also created a lambda function, which, for the purposes of the video, you don't really need to know what that is. It just returned the final decimal number in the form of a float. Then the code would go until it was able to solve the problem or until the approximation limit was reached, which just means the code would not run forever if the final number was like pi or something like that. I would just check if the current answer was bigger than the hoped for solution, and then I would change by 1 decimal point. Now, here is where my problems began. I created a checker code which would run the problem and check if the answer was the one that I hoped for. And for that I used ChatGPT to generate the problems, as you can see on the screen. But for some reason it was beginning to fail, as my codes usually do, and so I coded the fix for negative numbers, or long decimal numbers, or infinite decimal numbers like 7 over 3, and the mix between both. After that, it was working fine, at least until I ran more tests to check if it was running fine. Alright, I need a standard to know whether I need to know whether the x has passed it. It cannot be that it's bigger than the solution. Well, we can check like so we got ands. We could just do if ands is like if ands is less than if charge of ands is less than charge of problem num. No, what I need to do is I need to check whether the function, whether the problem is closer, whether the answer to the problem is closer. I have an idea, but it's not gonna work. Like getting, I don't know, dude. Getting the answer, I still don't know, actually. I genuinely do not know. Because I'm thinking we could get the difference between the solution and current answer. If it is closer, then keep on going, but it'll mess it up a bit. So I don't know. Alright, time to explain what just happened. So I was thinking, if the answer is 0 and we are at 1, then check the difference between the numbers, which would be 1. The only problem which I was thinking about was that if then the answer was negative 0.6, it would be closer to 0 than 1. So then it would keep going. And no, I wasn't stuck with that problem for a minute. It was more like half an hour. But I was having some ideas for what to do to deal with it. Oh wait, we just check whether the answer is typically over. Right, so answer with 1, but it's not always gonna be with 1 actually. Wait, answer with 0. So let's just write some junk. So we get the problem and we solve it with 0. Right? And if that one is bigger than 0, is bigger than solution, right, which in this case would be 10, then we need to check is when we pass it below. Which would just be like lower. So we just call that like standard. And we just get the problem 0. It's bigger than solution, and so test successful. Lastly, I created more problems using ChatGPT, exactly 46 problems, which I inputted. ChatGPT, being the reliable tool it was, simply gave me equations which could have been wrong, and so I had to change the expected x answer value. But after a while I fixed that with some code in the checker, and then I made the checker check correctly whether brute force worked or not. What I noticed was that the answers were always very close to the actual answer, infinitesimally close to the actual answer, so I created the code to give me a flag in case the difference was bigger than 1. I could have put 0.0001 and it still would have returned the same value. So yeah, that is brute force math. The raw footage is around an hour long, but this is what I was able to get from it. The code that was written is public in my GitHub, along with some other codes I have done. Right, and also, just as another thing that I did was that I fixed the code for Countdown Till Christmas, which is this page over here. It just counts down, and according to the date, it'll go up or down. The further it is, it goes down. The closer it is, it goes up. Also, Santa does happen to appear from time to time, occasionally. When it's actually Christmas, it'll show something very nice. So if you care to know what it shows, well, you'll be able to see it after Christmas or right when it becomes Christmas. So yeah, that's about it on my devlog.